Hello guys and welcome to another profile tree video. So in today's video we're going to be taking a look at web development tools. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. So just before we begin taking a look at the different tools in web development, what exactly is web development itself? So web development refers to the process of creating websites and web applications that are accessible and functional over the internet. Now, this requires a couple of stages. First one being the designing stage, then would be the building, and next and last would be maintaining the actual website, both checking the front end and the back end of the web application or web development. But of course, we'll take a look at that later on in the video. And overall, in order to achieve a website through web development, web developers use various programming languages, frameworks, and tools to bring the web projects to life. Now that we've got that all clarified, we're going to go ahead and start off with our first one. Which is planning and requirement gathering. Now, the development process begins with understanding the client's requirements and goals for the website or web application. So this involves gathering information about the target audience, desired features, and the purpose of the website. Now, this is the most crucial step, as you don't want to make any mistakes through the design process and end up making any mistakes on the front end development of the site. So make sure you gather as much information as I've stated about your audience, desired features, and the purpose of the site. So our next stage is the design. Now this is another important stage and you don't need to be too technical with it either. So if you have a pencil and paper, you can start to sketch out different parts and specifications that of course the client needs, and this is where you can do the design. Now if you are lucky to have a web designer, or if you're a web designer yourself, now do note you don't have to be a web designer in order to actually have the design stage of a website. You're able to create the wireframes and practically a mock-up to visually represent the website's layout, user interface, and user experience. And just to further explain what the wireframe is all about, I've actually got an application or tool here called Figma. Now, this is a UI or UX designing tool to use, and basically you can create different mockups and layouts of the website design. So if I close up or go closer into the actual wireframe itself, we could see that there's buttons and cards. We've got how the potential navigation will look like. We've got the potential hero section, so there's 3 different parts to it, or 3 different versions of it. Social proof, so that will be your social media. How would you go about designing it? You've got features left, so that's more or less where you're going to be storing your content, so that's all sectioned out. And of course features to the right, how would it look on the right side as well as the left side. And of course we've got the footer there, so that's just the bottom of your website. Now remember, a website is header, section, footer. That's how it pretty much goes in terms of website development. And of course you've got posts as well, so if you want to create blog posts you can do, and pricing for any sort of membership. Now I'll actually go ahead and show a design for one of our internal brands for ProfileTree. So this is the LLA concept, which is luxury, leisure, and affluence. So that's the abbreviation for it. Now, of course, we have had a designer create the logo for us. So that's how we imagine the LLA logo to look. This is more or less the navigation. As you can see, we've got the 3 different bars, which is luxury, leisure, and affluence. So they'll be our 3 different sections. We've got subscribe, contact us, a search bar, bookmarks, and this mode is basically light and dark mode. As demonstrated here, we've got the light version and the dark version. So This is practically the layout that we would potentially like to have. Now, as well as that, design and front-end dev plays an important role combined. You want to see as a front-end web developer whether some of this or some of the designs that the UI or UX designer created is possible to do on web dev. So this is why wireframing is very, very important. You'll be able to discuss with your teammates or have a thought or think on how you want to actually display your website. So that's why wireframing is very, very important when it comes to the web development. You also want to ensure within the design phase that the website is actually aesthetically pleasing, intuitive, and that it aligns with the client's brand. So there's no point mix and matching different colors. Speak with your client, or of course yourself. Think about what colors you want to use or what colors they prefer. Have a look at their brand colors. Make sure everything is tying in well and cohesive in terms of your typography, your colors, and the imaging that you're using. So our next stage in the development tools is the actual front-end development. Now, front-end developers are responsible for implementing the visual elements of the website that users interact with directly. Now, you would use technologies like HTML, so that's hypertext markup language, and CSS, which is cascading style sheets. And to combine the two and to add a little bit of flair to the website, you would want to also use JavaScript. And that's to build the user interface, handle user interactions, and pretty much make the website responsive across different devices. Now, in terms with the text editors or the integrated development environments that you can use, I'll actually show you guys an example of one of them. And it's actually the use of Visual Studio Code. So, Visual Studio Code, this is a popular and feature-rich source code, and it has plenty of extensive extensions for web development. You can see that we're using PHP for this one. That's how this basically works. You've got extensions as well. So you've got different coding languages that you can use, like Python. You've got Java. So there's Java there. See if it loads up. And of course, the basic languages that you can use, which is HTML and CSS. So that's one way of actually creating the front-end development of a website. What's another way of creating if you're not so technical? So this is where another type of designing tool that you can use kicks into play, which is content management systems, which is also known as CMS. Now, these are pretty much available for non-developers to manage website content easily. And these would be the likes of Wix, Squarespace, Shopify, WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, and so on. There's basically plenty of different content management systems that you can use. And I'll actually demonstrate it. So here we have a content management system. We could find other ones like so. And if we type in Wix, should get one for Wix. So this is Wix. Of course, it explains it itself as well. I'll see if I can get this one opened, or we'll do Squarespace instead. So Squarespace, and we'll open up Squarespace itself. You can see that it is a website builder. And again, great for someone who's not knowledgeable on coding like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, Java itself, C++, C#, all those coding languages, of course, that are readily available for any developer. And maybe you're unsure and you don't want to train yourself up to build a website, then a content management system is perfect for you. So it's easy to get set up with these types of website builders. It's more or less all the same. They all provide different templates, and you can choose through the templates, and you can also create a custom one if you want to. So say you don't want any of the templates that are available to you, which is great anyway that they are readily available, you can go ahead and build your own template. But say you wanted to choose one, it's easy enough. Just start with the template you like, follow the process of setting up. So you've got your naming the website, so name it with the business, and of course then you want to talk about the products that you might be selling. So as you can see, Squarespace title, so I'll just name it so web dev tools. Next, get started. And of course we have options here where we can go ahead and edit. And I'm able to pretty much change the look of the website, so I don't have to have it with the layout that they provide for me. So if I want to go ahead and maybe add a video in, I can go ahead and do that. And since it is a drag and drop editor, I can place it wherever I would like, as you can see. And I can add sections as well. So say that there's not enough sections for me, I can add contact, about, people, products, testimonials, different options that they will offer me. So I'll just hit don't show again. And there is a whole load of options to choose from in terms of adding a section template. So again, not to fear if you don't know anything on front-end development like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, then you're in luck and you've got the CMS content management system. So next up is the backend development. So that pretty much works with the server-side scripting languages, and that's with PHP, Node.js, Python, Ruby, and you've got frameworks that's involved in that as well, like Laravel, Express.js, Django, Ruby on Rails, and basically whatever you have in the front end of the website, the back end is pretty much the actual engine for that front end. So take it for example, if you had a shopping cart, and I'll use an e-commerce website just to explain this in more detail. So I have my shopping cart, and basically I go ahead and select a item. I go into my shopping cart, then with that item inside the actual cart, I'm able to check that out. And what the backend does is it actually communicates with the database, which is either MySQL, PostgreSQL, MongoDB for data storage and retrieval. So I'm currently on the front end of the website. So I'll actually show up a diagram just to further explain this. So I'm on the internet. I'm on the front end development or front end of the website. I click checkout. That directly goes to the back end of the website. Then that communicates with the databases. So depending if you're using any sort of language, preferably PHP will be the best one for frameworks. Or of course you can use other ones in terms of JavaScript, like Express.js or the Django or Ruby on Rails, as I've said earlier on. So that's like the Django is like Python, so that's what that is, and Ruby on Rails is Ruby. But anyway, once I've clicked checkout and I've paid for the item, that then tells the database that an item has been gone, and it then passes that information to the back end of the website and to the front end, which is the HTML version, will give me a confirmation saying that I've now purchased this, here's the confirmation, and here's a receipt. So that's how that would go. But again, as I said, I'll put up that diagram just to further explain that in detail. So our next one is the actual database development. And what that is database developers can design and manage the database structure, ensuring efficient storage and retrieval of data for the web application. Now, in terms of database as well, what's involved is the integration of APIs and external services. So web developers may integrate like third-party APIs. So that's an application programming interface, which is basically there to enhance the functionality of the website. And on top of that, they can decide to maybe include like social media integrations, payment gateways, and other services. And just to further explain that, I'll go ahead and show up a diagram on screen now. So as you can see, this is more or less how the integration, and you can see there that you've got your computer or your smartphone, then you tap into the API server, then that goes to the bank server or the courier server when you are trying to purchase a product. So there's a couple of different links towards them and a couple of different API gateways in order to actually make a transaction happen. So that's what's involved as well with the database. That all stores the different details that it needs, as well as like product details. It takes in user details, so it has quite a bit in there, and that's why development is required to have custom functionalities. So we've pretty much completed the full circle here. So what exactly are the other tools that you can use? Now, firstly, when you have finalized and are happy with the actual website, the next sort of stages is to actually do some testing and quality assurance. Now, double check, go over the actual site, see if your cookies are working, and see if the actual site's performing well, check the SEO, things like that. Do some integration testing, user acceptance testing, and make sure that the website functions correctly when it meets the client's requirements. Now, you don't want to land up with these sort of pages, which is the 404 page. So if, say, I clicked on services, this is what I get. That means we've got a broken link and it's directed us to the 404 page. And on top of that as well, even if we are clicking on a particular page and it doesn't work, we don't want to make it look like you haven't clicked on anything. At least redirect it to the 404 page. That acknowledges yourself as the developer and the client that the page's link is either dead or it's just not working. So that's a good indicator. That's us going through the testing and making sure that it is going 100% for the site. Now, even before you do all of that, what you want to also do is think about your deployment and hosting. So once that development stage has worked out well, and once the testing is complete, make sure you have a place to deploy it to. So have a think about your domain. Check up and see what sort of hosting services are you going to use. Are you going to use Cloudflare? Are you going to use Flywheel? Will you be pulling out domains from GoDaddy? Where are you going to direct and point these IP addresses? Things like that. So web developers will, of course, work with hosting providers or may work with hosting providers to make sure that they set up and configure the server environment. Now, once you've done all that and the actual site is live on the internet, all you now need to do is maintain and update. So web development is pretty much an ongoing process. So it requires constant update, loads of maintenance and security updates as well. And of course, is on top of that, feature enhancements to stay relevant and secure. Ways to do that is to actually look at the page insights, or if you want to quickly just double check how the site's doing, you can go ahead and use the lighthouse and do a page load or analyze the page load. This will generate a report depending on your mobile version as well as your desktop version. It checks the performance, accessibility, the best practices, how well you've done your SEO, and of course the progressive app. So that all takes it into consideration. So would highly recommend to do it. It only takes a couple of seconds to fully get to the end of the bar, and I'll show you now what it would look like. So that'll just load up everything. You can see that our performance is 70, accessibility is 96, best practices is at 100, and our SEO is also at 100. Now, it's stating the fact that Chrome extensions negatively impact the the actual page performance, so we may want to try to audit it without the actual browser. So another thing on top of that, to quickly mention it, is to actually look into the different web browsers. So not only will you use Chrome, try to use Mozilla Firefox, and on top of Mozilla Firefox, try to use Microsoft Edge. It's essential for testing and debugging web applications. But there you have it, guys. That is a full circle on what you will need to know in terms of the web development tools. If you found this video helpful, please do let us know in the comment section below. But other than that, I'll see you guys for the next video. Thank you very much for watching.